I've now got quite a bit of pressure where we start, and saying when I said the starting point is really important. But I think, and you so rightly talked about it on our last podcast, albeit 15 minutes ago, is of the different chapters of life, whether that's season or Seedlip or whatever before, whatever after. I would love to know if, imagine Seedlip, that journey was a film.
Yep.
What would be the closing scene, if you had to pick a moment, and what song would you pick to go with that opening scene, closing scene?
So the closing scene happens like probably the first week of August 2019. And we are in the acquisition process with DIAGEO, which is nearly coming to the end. And then a family friend who was a shareholder in Seedlip died. And yeah, that was, dreadful and stressful, and suddenly needing to learn.
Was it a sudden death?
Yeah, it was pretty sudden.
Right.
And her husband, Jono, was also a shareholder. So you had this sort of crazy scenario where I'm on my knees, literally, because I'm stressed, I'm fucking scared. I didn't know whether the deal was going to go through. I didn't know what that meant. I'm upset that Karen's died. Her two best mates, her husband and my dad, who were business partners in Perthshire, the design agency, are three of my shareholders. And I've got no fucking idea what that means from a deal, shareholding. Like, how do you broach that subject with Jono when his wife has just died?
So sorry, Jono was just to get. So Jono was an investor as well.
Yeah.
Shareholder as well.
So Seedlip began with me putting my own money in.
Yep.
And then I had three shareholders: my dad, Jono, and Karen.
With you. Yep.
And they are the founders of Perthshire, the design agency. Karen and Jono were married. Karen died. And this is like, I don't know, 2 weeks before we were meant to complete the acquisition. My wife was also pretty much 9 months pregnant. And we were trying to buy a house. And so all of this was happening, in this last scene of the movie. And fuck it, it sort of gives me shivers to think back to it, of just being like so terrified, so out my depth, all such grown up stuff, whole mixture of things going on. And we did the acquisition, and Jono was amazing, and DIAGEO were amazing, and our lawyers were amazing, and that process all got sorted out. We did that deal on August the 6th and announced it on August the 7th. And 9 days later, my daughter River was born, and we completed on the house. So it was like this, I don't know, Seedlip as a film was kind of this, just very naive sort of bit like a sort of the film that's coming to my mind is Coyote Ugly for some reason, of like country girl, no worldliness, no real kind of idea what's going on, but passionate and maybe a bit of raw talent there, something there, diamond in the rough, all that kind of stuff. And then this whirlwind roller coaster happening onto the big stage, and and I can't remember the Coyote Ugly film or how it ends, but I imagine there's a this is all going amazing, and then there's the holy shit moment where things crash or crumble, or will they, won't they, that kind of trepidation. And not that it's then all been happily ever after, but a moment at the end where the dust settles and sort of the chaos kind of clears and there's a bit of calm and clarity. That's sort of how it...
What song would you pick to go with that?
Did you ask me that when you asked me the question?
Yeah. Well, but as in like the first thing was the film, but like...
Yeah, the song. The one that immediately springs to mind is Bittersweet Symphony, the Verve.
That's when he's walking through the walls, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing to pick as it's...
That is what has come to my brain.
Yeah, and bittersweet, the bittersweet feeling of selling a business, selling a brand. And then I think what we've talked a lot about today is this grit. Your hope needs grit. Grit needs hope, whatever way of saying it. That's super vivid. So Karen passed away. What would you say to Karen if you was sat next to her today? She didn't get to see the things she'd invested in. What would you say to her?
Karen was a force and a incredible lady and a nonconformist and a challenger and she had a big passion for challenger brands and creating her own brands and doing things differently. And so I think, now with launching, I'm going back to the beginning and I'm launching another startup that's designed by Pearl Fisher and challenges the sort of status quo and looks to modernize and disrupt. I hope she'd be really proud and I kind of feel like she'd be sort of there going, yeah, that's what to fucking do. How do you... It's sort of everyone listens, a lot of people listen to this podcast because they want to exit a business, right? But a lot of people don't know what the fuck to do, or where to start, or how it happens. How does DIAGEO come to you? Do you go to them? How much revenue? And sorry, we can always edit out, but I'd rather really want to go into the gory details because I get asked to go into the gory details. Yep.
What revenue are you at? How do you make the valuation? Was it? There's a lot. I'm sort of barraging you things here, mate. But maybe start with did you approach DIAGEO? Did they approach you? When did they approach you?
So I think it starts even before that with just being really, really clear. I don't think it's as simple to go into starting a food and drink brand thinking binary. Do I want to sell this or do I not want to sell this? For me, it was why is that even a choice? And I am really aware of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and I'm really aware of where I get my energy and where I just don't get my energy. And I'm really good at the beginning, and I'm really good when it's risky and it's scrappy and it's chaos and it's stress and it's fast and it's frantic. And I'm really good at setting the course. I'm not bad at course correcting, but what I'm not built for is scaling things. I'm not built for I'm just not built like that. And so that self-awareness was one half of the puzzle of okay, I'm really good at this first bit, or I think that's where I'm best suited. The second bit is kind of, the sort of loftier, fast forward the tape, longer term thinking of, want to make a big impact, and I want to change things, and I believe what I'm doing is more than a product, and there's some debate and conversation and, you know, just societal norms to break down, and like there's just something more here that's sort of a bit more like legacy and longer lasting change involved. It was probably about as sort of scrappy as that sort of thinking. And, you know, my great grandfather, he was an entrepreneur, and he was knighted for his services to philanthropy and agriculture. And I've always sort of, you know, he invented stuff. Like, I've always kind of held that in.
What did he invent?
The irony is that he invented, at the time, his invention kept people alive during the war. Now, it's one of the cruelest inventions that probably was ever invented: battery chicken farming. So he invented a way to mass produce eggs and chicken at scale, owning and creating the whole supply chain and the kind of specifics of the actual batteries and cages that chickens are kept in. So I'm sort of like, and he could produce 1 million eggs a week, right, during the war, at a time when it was rations and all the rest of it. So, you know, I talk about bittersweet symphony. You're kind of like,
hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, means the absolute world to me. I'd be so grateful for a small favour, please. It is so hard growing a YouTube channel. It is so bloody hard. If you please enjoy these videos, just click the subscribe button. More subscribers equals bigger guests equals better conversations, and hopefully you can learn more as you build your food and drink brand. Thank you so much.
Well, mate, it's looking right in front of me right now, dark and light. And I think everything, there's good and bad and everything. I know we were quite philosophical today, but I've had my fucking Diet Coke. But there's good and there's darkness leads to light, lightness leads to dark. Like it's a circular thing, and it's like the creation that basically allowed us to be sat opposite each other today is now further down the line something that's, you know, ravaging the supply chain. But I think there's something in that, and I think with, you know, I know this, both the drinks, but what you said is there's a darkness and a light to things, which is super interesting. But so you're saying your grandfather, you looked up to your grandfather.
Yeah,
did you ever have your old man's Pearl Fisher? Was there ever a chip on your shoulder around that, or like I
just think everybody in my family worked for themselves, and that doesn't and still doesn't mean everybody's entrepreneurs. And I personally don't like connect with that word. I don't know.
What founder or entrepreneur?
Yeah, I don't. I know, like, yeah, it's a job title, and yes, I am the founder of Seedlip, and I am the founder of seasn, and I'm the founder of Pollen Projects, our venture studio, and I'm the founder of Prism, which is our charity. Like, I'm lots of founders of lots of things, because I started them, because I created them, but I don't know, I don't necessarily associate with the kind of word entrepreneur, and maybe that's partly because everyone in my family works themselves, but no one would describe themselves as an entrepreneur. You know, my dad wouldn't describe himself as an entrepreneur. He might describe himself as a business owner. My dad's dad was involved in, you know, building and creating and repairing and selling typewriters and stationery. And he had his own shops.
This is as well as the chicken stuff?
No, this is my grandfather, not my great-grandfather. So yeah, it's my dad's dad.
Okay,
so we're bouncing around the family tree here.
Yeah, it's all good.
I've got one side of my family in agriculture and farming.
Yep.
That's my mum's side. And my dad's side has been in like the rag trade, stationery, design, brands, advertising. And it's no surprise that I kind of put plants in a bottle and create a brand, whether it's Seedlip or seasn. I just put my upbringing together and
of course. Yeah.
But the investment, I rewind back to the investment thing because I can't, DIAGEO will shoot me if I tell you anything financial. What I can tell you though is I wanted to work with DIAGEO because they are the #1 global premium spirits business in the world. And it was really important to me that Seedlip was grounded in that credibility and the premium spirit space, even though I didn't have any alcohol in it. So that was really important. I was like, DIAGEO build amazing brands at scale in 180 countries. I want to loftily and deludedly change the way the world drinks. So I'm not going to do that on my own. I need someone to help me do that, and someone that's really good at that. And I need to do the bit that they're not really good at. So that was sort of my own way of doing the bargain. And we went through their accelerator program, so Distill Ventures it's called. And that's basically in very simple terms, money from DIAGEO, support, some mentoring from the Distill Ventures team, and then a sort of funding cycle that means you go back and you pitch for more money. So you only need one investor in DIAGEO, and Distill Ventures help get you ready for those funding cycles and preparing kind of investment pitches. And as part of that deal, there is a exit if you hit certain triggers. So
what were they, can you say what those numbers were?
No, I can't say what those numbers were. But we did it in about half the time than you're kind of meant to. So they average sort of, 6-7 years for an exit. We did it in 3.5. And nearly twice as big as their usual exits. So it was, I remember presenting a slide to all these kind of really amazing senior people at DIAGEO, where we were pitching for more money. And I was presenting this slide that basically said, we are growing fast. This was maybe 18 months, 2 years in. We are growing faster than these brands who were at that same stage.
What were those brands?
Brewdog.
Yep.
Hendrix, Fever Tree, Innocent. Name me any other brands, and we were growing. It was kind of just, it was like fucking holding onto a rocket. And so I kept it. It gave us a North Star to aim for. And the irony was that it wasn't, hey guys, come and join this business, Seedlip employees, because we're going to sell it. It was, hey guys, if you buy into this vision and you buy into this kind of scary dream, as David Hyatt would call it, then everyone's getting shares. So 20% of my business went to the team, whether you joined 3 months before acquisition or you joined, employee number 2. And that was really an open conversation. So that helped give us an absolute North Star of, there's 2 steps on this journey. First step is we need to get to this so that this big company are going to get hold of this brand and make it even bigger, because we want to have a really big impact on socializing and the way people drink. So that was the sort of theory, I guess, behind it. And it all went very, very quickly. I had really good lawyers. I was the only person that liaised and dealt with Distill Ventures and DIAGEO. So I was the one point of contact on raising money. I was the one point of contact on performance. I was the one point of contact on the legals and the deal. and the rest of my team, we got to 85, you know, in sort of year 3, year 4, across, you know, people in 6 countries and 3 offices. And Emma, who's now my sort of CEO on seasn, was my COO on Seedlip. So she was amazing at I protected everybody from all of that process. So I'm saying that kind of, I guess, to people listening, watching, if there's, you know, corporates involved, big investors, institutions, exits. I didn't want my team getting distracted at all by DIAGEO or the deal process or the investment process. So, yeah, totally protected everybody from that.
Did they know there was going to be? They must have known that the kind of the exit was lingering, though.
Yeah, everybody.
Knew. Okay.
It was. I kept nothing kind of. Nothing was happening sort of behind closed doors and then sprung on people.
So that week, 6th of August 2019,
Yep.
Karen's sadly passed away. River's almost born.
Yep.
About to sell the business, do sell the business. Bittersweet Symphony is kind of playing in the background.
Yep.
What does it feel like when a seismic amount of money lands in your bank account? And again, I ask this because some founders, Juliet from Grenade, Will Chase from Tyrrell's, said it was the worst day of their life.
It was a massive anticlimax. I'll definitely say that. It was... I felt pretty broken, really. I felt so empty. I'm saying all this thinking, why the fuck am I launching a new fucking startup?
And we're going to get onto that.
I felt bruised and I felt battered, and my focus was my family and my wife and our daughters, and I went on paternity leave straight away. So I had 7 months on paternity leave to, like, I'm not sort of dramatizing it, to heal. And because I know you've had plenty of people, the rhetoric goes in the sort of world of food and drink and being a founder, like, it's fucking brutal. It is brutal. It is like going to war. And I needed, I'd done 600 days out of the UK in 3 years, traveling, launching in 40 markets, brutal, and doing trips that were just, ridiculous, of like doing, I don't know.
What's the nuts trip you did?
The nuts trip was flew London to Amsterdam to Taiwan, 2 nights in Taiwan, then over to Macau. Sorry?
Where's Macau?
Macau, near Hong Kong, part of Hong Kong. 2 nights in the most ridiculous, kind of crazy hotel you've ever seen, World's 50 Best Restaurant Awards, lots of activations, account visits, press. Then I went to Singapore. We did World's 50 Best Bar Awards. It's like two nights there. Ride with the distributor. Getting on a plane, literally putting my hand luggage through security in absolute fucking bits, crying because we just fucking realised we had like £1 million working capital hole that we'd discovered. But needing to get on a plane, being on a conference call, crying, needing to get on a plane, and needing to being told to put my phone down and get on the plane, and then going to Australia to go and do like a launch event in Melbourne, and a trip to Sydney, then to Auckland, one night down in Christchurch for a big event that we did, then back up to Auckland, then Auckland to LA. I mean, I'm exhausted fucking saying this, right?
Why do you think it was because you drove that category forward? Uh-oh, I have just discovered a secret weapon. Please, please, please don't tell anyone. This secret weapon helps you get listed, stay listed, and most importantly, grow. This secret weapon is being used by absolutely banging brands like Bold Bean Co., Perfect Head, Neat, Trip, and Cheeky Panda. No wonder they're absolutely smashing it. But look, are you ready to get your mitts on this secret weapon and absolutely smash it too? I am thrilled, so thrilled to announce our brand new podcast partner, North Star. What is North Star, I hear you thinking? North Star is a monthly subscription to an online platform giving you access to category data, category insights, anytime, any place, anywhere. It's basically the Netflix for challenger brands. It levels the playing field. Why do you need category data? Well, the first thing is making your pitch speak the buyers and retailers language is so important. It's going to help you unlock more listings, unlock deeper distribution with existing clients, back the right MPD, and actually understand how your competition is performing. But the even better news, are you ready to rock and roll at your next range review? You no longer need to hire a full-time category manager. Instead, just parachute in North Star when your next Waitrose, Sainsbury's or Tesco range reviews coming up. They're your outsourced in-house partner. Save money. Their team will come in. They'll help you prep, plan and smash your next range review. I'm so excited to be partnering with North Star. Check them out in the episode description below. Delighted to announce the extension of our partnership with the wonderful Billy and Paul from Mackenzie Jones, but even more exciting, they have just launched a brand new brand as part of Mackenzie Jones called MKJ Ignite. MKJ Ignite is a recruitment firm which specialises full shebang focus entirely on challenge brand space. They work with some incredible brands, Lucky Saint, Good Race, Purdy and Fig, Hunter and Gather and Real Superfoods. They can support with your hiring needs across all levels, top to bottom, junior entry-level jobs, all the way through up to MD and CEO level. So if you're looking for a field sales stomper, a sales wizard, an ops guru, a supply chain sensei, you name it, MKJ Ignite can help you out. And look, if you're looking to wet your whistle, ignite your curiosity, then check out the poddy we recorded with them back in July. Laden with wisdom, all about like do's and don'ts of hiring and like how to create the perfect job description. You will love it. Because you drove that category forward. But I've never heard of an example where it has that global ubiquitousness and that kind of just to the point where you're jetting around, or like not jetting around, that's a romantic way of saying it, is exhausting yourself like fucking crazy, gallivanting around the world. What I'm trying to get to why that it was with Seedlip and that category on global so quick. As you said, you were at that point in the journey, you were zonks ahead of Innocent, zonks ahead of Brewdog, zonks ahead of Hendrix.
Yeah. One really simple reason. Social media and the community of top bars and restaurants and chefs and bartenders, which is a community of, let's say, 1,000 people, right, globally. So in my head, only 1,000 people mattered. Oh, you like that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I really like that. It's getting a bit horny for that, mate. But
Podcast is changing to horny, not hungry.
Yeah. Have you read of that 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly?
No, but I know the concept of 1,000 true fans.
Yeah, that's what I applied to this as well. I do apply to this. Yeah. But that's so because actually global and local.
Yep.
You know, there's 1,000.
1,000 people mattered, and they weren't consumers. And you know, you got to go rewind back to like when Seedlip launched, there was Beck's Blue on the shelf, and that was about fucking it, right?
Yeah.
And now there are over 1,000 new non-alcoholic brands across beer, wine, spirits, and kind of functional. And 80% of those have launched in the last 3 years, right? So it's like an explosion kind of territory, and this is happening all over the world. So we wanted to hold this tension between first mover advantage, pace, and you know, the kind of tastemakers, trendsetters, whatever you want to call them, that are in all the major capital cities and all around the world, right? And you've got, you know, things like the Michelin Guide and the world's best bar awards and stuff like that as reference points. And you've got social media as this kind of congregation place where it used to be the case where, you know, you launch something in the UK or you launch something in the US, and then 5 years later, someone in another country hears about it. And that is just not the case now. You know, that means you can have this sort of, I look at it with podcasts, right? People can listen to it from anywhere in the world. So you can have this sort of, if you've got something good that's got relevance, there are amazing chefs and amazing bartenders in every city, you know, in the world. And so then you're like, okay, so where do they go to find stuff? Where do they talk? Where do they access information? Fuck. And Instagram is an amazing place where it's a news feed for, no one wants to read trend reports and wait for a yearly fucking rundown. This can happen instantly.
That's a bit closer, mate.
And so you want to find this, hold this tension between going narrow and deep and focused in a market and being first and lighting fires. And I think we held that tension really, really well. And it's a tension that we're going to hold with seasn as well. Because the best bars, the best chefs, they don't want to wait 5 years. You know, look at the way that the world can change.
What's mental is the fact, and this is why this is just sick, is the fact you're building a global brand, but thinking of 1,000 people, 1,000 true fans. And actually, this is delicious for our listeners, and we're going to talk about seasn, of course, shortly. Is you only need to find the right people across in the right cities, and you suddenly have global reach, because those are the early adopters or the the early adopters. They'll share about it on social. And actually, I've thought about this with this podcast, right? Because there's 8,127 SME food and drink brands in the UK. We get more than that downloaded per month now. Okay, so not that I've reached the market cap. I was like, okay, I need to go and find the food and drink brands in New York, the food and drink brands in America, and actually you can have a pretty global reach.
Yeah, you do that in 10 cities, for example.
Yeah, what advice with this holding two opposing things, the global, local, first mover kind and depth, you know, smashing it in the UK but global. Like, what kind of amid that tension, what are some of the wisdom or lessons you'd pass on to new brands? I think
one of the big ones was we didn't launch in Hong Kong, Singapore. I'm trying to think of another example. Yeah, I mean, let's just take Hong Kong and Singapore. We didn't launch in those markets because we thought they were going to be huge, right? We launched it from a volume perspective. We launched in those markets because in Hong Kong there's a high concentration of Michelin star restaurants, a high concentration of 5-star hotels, a high concentration of people going out and hospitality not being at home but being out. And Singapore, you've got some of the best cocktail bars in the world. An amazing bar scene that's concentrated, that the rest of, much of the rest of the world looks to from a food and a drink perspective. And so all of our markets played a role, and some of those, and the trick was understanding where do we really invest in to go deep, to learn, that is good for our P&L, that drives the business forward. UK, for example. Where do we want to light a fire that we only need to be a spark, because actually being in those great places in that market will help drive the UK, for example. And then where do we want the slow? I'm using a kind of fire analogy here, it seems.
Which is what it is. Yeah. Which is what it is. Yeah.
But then where do we want to
pour gasoline on growth?
Yeah, there you go. And then where do we want to light a fire that we know is going to take longer to properly fucking gather steam and momentum? And that was the US, for example. So I think my advice would be, and this is, I guess, our learning, was being absolutely crystal clear on the role of a new market. And it is okay that it's not the big volume driver. I think that some of the received wisdom of kind of, hey, don't go to export too quickly, and don't spread yourself too thin, and don't go until you've like really proven what you know in one market, and then go to another market and build it up that way. In our case, we slightly flied in the face of that, with the realistic understanding that we were launching in a market not because we wanted it to be big.
The narrative is, get it going in the UK, maybe another market, that's when you'll build to sell it. And what you're actually saying there is go to where that 1,000 people are. 1,000, say 300 of them, say just for argument's sake, 500 are in London. That doesn't necessarily mean that 250 are going to be in Manchester and 250 are going to be in Leeds. In fact, they probably aren't there. So actually, why try and build a brand in the UK if it's going to take you longer to get those customers around who are not going to buy alcoholic-free gin? Like, they'll be like, I don't listen to a disparaging way, but they'll be like, what the fuck, mate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, they probably are in New York. They probably are in Tokyo. They probably are in Japan. And actually, this 1,000 true fans, 1,000 people, small bonfires lead to big fires. That's a really interesting reframe. I remember I interviewed Adam Wills, the founder of Crosstown Donuts, and they actually have done this because of this was pre-pandemic. And it wasn't even an interview, I was just chatting to him, but he was like, we would rather open a Crosstown Donuts in New York versus Manchester versus Brighton. And I think it's a really interesting, breaking against the grain. Like, why, back to what we were talking about on my podcast, if the curriculum's like, you need 2 markets, blah, 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 why?
Yes.
And you guys have broken that rule. In terms
what
of
you can't do is do that, expecting every market to be big, B, every market costing a lot of money and having to really invest time, money and people in lots of those markets because it's just not realistically going to happen. And C, you have got to have the fundamentals in place of your core market. You've got to kind of have, some of that foundation. But all we've done is go, Seedlip gets into Selfridges, the Fat Duck, the Savoy, and Ryan's Bar at the time, Dandelion. So it's in the top cocktail bar, the top restaurant, the top hotel, the top luxury retailer. Copycat that in any city in the world. Yeah,
I get it. Where like is it I was going to say Neanderthals.
Neanderthals?
No, not Neanderthals. Neophils, like those sort of first movers, the adopters. I get that they're hanging out in these bars, the Fat Duck. I get that's where the nascent flames are beginning to kind of dance. Yeah. How, again, across the globe, on the adoption curve, what happens for it to then spread? Do you see what I'm saying? I completely get being in the right places where those neophils hang out. What happens? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, then you need, you've got to have the right distributor in the market that understands that journey.
Yep.
That knows that, Selfridges leads to a smaller group, and a nice hotel leads to they've got 4 other hotels, and you kind of start broadening those distribution shoulders, and then, as is the case in the UK, you're kind of like, now we're in Waitrose, and you sort of gradually brought, and that's the pathway, although maybe slightly different in different markets, and the US is its own kind of thing, but yeah, that pathway is sort of tried and tested, right?
Yeah.
And proven, and distributors understand that. I think that the only thing I would say is, because this is not, hey, we can only start in these really top end niche places, was very specific to Seedlip, because no one was talking about non-out, no one was talking about moderation, no one had a fucking clue what a non-alcoholic spirit was, no one knew what distilling really was in a non-alcoholic context, and there was Beck's Blue as a reference point, right, on the supermarket shelves. So, and I was nobody knew who I was, I had no clue what I was doing. So the slightly more emotional aspect to this was, I am never going to say that Seedlip was amazing. I need everybody else to say that it's amazing, and then other people will think it's amazing. So I needed non-alc to be taken seriously.
Yep.
I needed there to be absolute credibility. And I was like, it doesn't matter how many times I tell people Seedlip's amazing and it's delicious with tonic. People don't have to listen. But you try and tell me that something's not delicious if I tell you that the fucking Fat Duck and Selfridge's food buyer and this 5-star hotel and this journalist, you try and say that they're not right. You know, you kind of tell me that you don't think that they know what they're talking about. And again, that is the same in every market in the world, you know?
I think what's bubbling to my brain now is the quote by Stephen Bartlett, who told the guys at Perfect TED, which is, when you meet someone, you meet everyone they know. And by that, it means when it's a clever, wanky way of saying word of mouth, but like,
yes.
But when you meet someone and they say, right, season is sick, I've put it on my cocktails, my drinks, they taste so much better. You're going to go and tell that person, providing that is so going to those bars. When you meet someone, they tell everyone they know. They get 500 people. They tell everyone, but providing the product's good, providing the story's good, it can spread. I want to talk about your few things. Is your wife's role? Obviously, we did the season launch event on her birthday, which was amazing.
Don't do a launch event on your wife's birthday. But
what role? And I've never explored this. But what role has she played in helping you build both these businesses?
So I first met my wife, Sam, like 20 years ago. And
whereabouts?
In Newcastle. And I was friends with a friend of hers, and she was at university in Southampton and came up to Newcastle, and I was in Newcastle. I was meant to be at university, but I wasn't at university. I was just sort of having a bit of a jolly. And I met her, and I thought she was amazing. And so we went out for a bit, and then we lost touch, and she went and started a fashion brand in China, and we just reconnected then 15 years later because of Seedlip. She reached out to me. A friend of hers was doing an event at some members club and wanted to know if they could get some free stock of Seedlip for it. And I was just like, oh, fuck, hello, you know. And then we met up, and and now we're married.
3 kids, amazing.
Exactly. Sam is incredibly patient and tolerant, and she doesn't understand in the nicest possible way, you know, the madness of how stressful this is and why it's what it means and why you've got to be deluded to do it and why it's risky and ridiculous, and just that unique niche of people who are stupid enough to do, you know, start a food and drink brand. But she's great support. You know, we got her hand modeling for season, which was good. And, you know, you've got to be a wonderful person to kind of go, hold on a minute, my husband wants to do a launch event and it's my 40th birthday. Okay, not wild about that, but let's do it, you know.
But then how does the brands affect the relationship, or does it, or is that like in that it can be so all encompassing, is what you're saying, or how do you create the space to see your kids, and how does your baby Seedlip or seasn affect you? You're the father of those brands. How does it affect you as the father of your babies? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Good question. So Seedlip, I am still a shareholder of. You
Yep.
know, it was a majority acquisition from DIAGEO. I'm still the founder. I'm still involved, but not as much. And I am not carrying the weight of it around on my shoulders anymore, which is immensely liberating. So that obviously frees up some space. Having children, I'm pretty ruthless with my time and how I prioritize. And I love my dad. Mike is a wonderful man, and he's super bright, and I've learned a lot from him, and he runs an amazing business, which I'm really proud of him for. But he wasn't there much when I was growing up, you know, because he was working. And I guess I don't want to do that with my kids. And so I will put a or two daughters to bed, you know, 9 out of 10 nights, right? And I don't leave for work 9 out of 10 times before they're up and, you know, had breakfast and ready. And that's really important to me, to be as present as possible in my kids' lives. So and so then it's about working smart, and it's about, in my case, I'm best when I work in kind of sprints, and, you know, I don't work long days. It's not like I'm like, oh my God, I've got to work, you know, loads of hours. I just need to be absolutely ruthless with the impact of the work that I do, being the biggest impact possible for the least amount of time. And then the season, and then we've launched a charity. So
No, and I'm the same. It's just graft. I reckon you can do your day in 5 hours. I really believe that.
Yeah.
Like after this, I'm going to go meet those chaps from local beer. I want to talk about, you've been diagnosed with autism. And
as autistic.
As autistic.
Yeah,
sorry.
I can't have autism.
Oh, you can't have...
Not a disease.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry, mate.
It's all right.
And this was quite recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, so September 2022.
September 22. Now being diagnosed as autistic, sorry, not having autism. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, mate.
I'm the same.
Right.
Yeah, no,
This is exactly why I've set up this charity and launched your podcast.
We're going to talk about this podcast because it's sick. I think what you're doing. How does that diagnosis change? Does that help you understand that period better? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, it ultimately, you know, being this psychiatrist, you know, saying to me, as she did literally, congratulations, Ben, you're autistic. And I genuinely believed her, and I genuinely felt a sense of relief, and like someone had just handed me a pair of keys. And I was like, I know where the fucking lock is. I know where to put those keys finally, and then I can open the door. And you psychiatrist, and that diagnosis and assessment, all I've got is these keys, and now it's up to me. That kind of process, that time has been, it's been pretty game changing in terms of making sense of myself, answering lots of questions that I've had,
Such as
why? Oh, how long you got?
time.
For example, why did I berate my wife for me thinking that her hearing was so bad and asking her to get her hearing tested. And turns out my wife's hearing is absolutely normal. I have incredibly good hearing. And my senses are highly acute. I can't wear wool, and I didn't know why. Like, literally my skin would hurt wearing wool. And it's like, okay, I'm starting to make sense. Some of these sensory things, I've got mega smell, really good taste. So from a sensory perspective, it started to kind of make sense of some of those sort of quirks. Why am I as equally comfortable in Excel? We have this sort of theory that, you're either like really good at maths and science, or you're really good at like art and painting and creative stuff. Whereas I'm like, I didn't realize I could draw until I was like 26, and I can draw really well, but I was never encouraged to do art at school. And I couldn't do equations and algebra, and so I didn't think I was good at maths. And now I'm like, well, I'm equally at home in Excel and financial models as I am in Photoshop and drawing. I'm kind of like, okay, that's why I can. I know that I've got a kind of high IQ, but I'm really gullible. I'm really bad on understanding people's body language. I'm really bad on understanding people's intentions. I don't have any friends, but I'm totally okay with that. And I really like my own company in that sense. And I don't get my energy from being around other people. I've just kind of had, I've got some crazy collections of things and high topics that are like high obsession, high interest.
Such as?
At the moment, what am I? Let me think about what my high interest topics are. Wood and wood carving and woodwork is a kind of quite a big obsession. So we're trying to build this cabin at home, and doing it traditionally and learning about all the techniques and some of the right equipment. And Lego is a pretty deep obsession of mine. And I've built like Harry Potter fucking Hogwarts Express trains and Hogwarts itself. Lego, cocktail glassware is another kind of dangerous habit. I've probably got over 500 different individual cocktail glasses. We talked about the Penguin books last time. I've got over 4,000 1970s early kind of Penguin classic books. 1940s, sorry, not 1970s. I love, I'm quite big into like Deadliest Catch, the TV series about fishing. I don't know. I want to get to the bottom of the barrel on things, and they're not a wide array. They're kind of quite specific things at a specific time. And then whether it's social communication, or it's how I get my energy, or it's routines and structure and plans. I knew lots of things, but I didn't understand why. And I was very good at masking them. I'm very good at, I was very good at sport at school, and I was very clever, and I was quite popular with the girls. And so I got away with seeming to be really popular and have loads of friends, when actually I'm not friends with anyone that I went to school with,
Oh my God, I am so excited. It feels like Hungary is finally swimming in the big leagues. I can't believe this. It's absolutely mental. But delighted to announce that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, are partner of the podcast. Perry's been on the podcast 3 times. Listeners absolutely love it. Some of our most downloaded and cherished episodes of all time. But Big Fish are behind literally so many brands in your cupboard, in your weekly shop. Charlie Bigham, Year Valley, Tyrrell's, Clipper Tea, Goo, Rana. I mean, mate, the list is longer than the River Nile. But they also share risk and invest in brands that they really believe are a force for good. That are brands that they believe are going to be the next big thing, like Howder, the snack that gives back. But even more exciting news, Big Fish want to speak to the next wave of small challenger food and drink brands that are destined for big things, the racconteurs, the movers, shakers, buccaneering visionaries. So look, if you want to speak to Big Fish and just have a chat, get your brand in front of them, then drop me a message. My mate Louis from Local Beer, Amazing Beer, was in their office, aka La Fish Bowl, last week, chatting to Perry, Freddie and the Big Fish crew. So drop me a message if you would like to speak to them. Bohemi, our beloved sponsor, are helping build the fastest growing challenger food and drink brands. Look, if you're a small brand just starting out and need your first indie stockist, your first 100 stockists to wholesale, Bohemi are the platform to categorically speed that up. But if you're a big brand wanting to get bigger, Bohemi are also insane. They make field sales marble smooth, silky slick. They're just epic. Ollie's been on this podcast twice actually. They saw a 29% uplift in sales when using Bohemi to check major malt listings availability. Insane. 29% uplift by downloading an app. Insane. Lucky Saint, my boy Aaron Duff, who's coming on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he uses it to manage a team of 30 people, and Lucky Saint have unlocked 500 draft listings by using Bohemi. Look, you've got to get involved with this stuff. It's absolutely insane, and it will categorically change your life. It's just the sickest platform. I use it all the time at Islands. So, and you don't have friends now?
No.
As in, and that's...
I have people that I know and people that I like and colleagues and but no, I have no social life. So people. I mean, take Emma. I've worked with Emma Wykes. I've worked with her for 7 years now.
Yeah.
She's never been to my house. I've never done anything socially with her. I've never met her husband. I've met her daughter once. And this is a lady that, is on that phone call when I'm in tears in Singapore, figuring out how we get through £1 million cash deficit, or is at that acquisition event. It, is like, with me throughout the whole of that. But I don't see her socially. I don't, in the really nicest possible way. Obviously, I care about her, but I don't care what she did at the weekend. Don't care what she's doing for Christmas. I want her to be happy, and as long as she's happy and okay, then that's fine. But yeah, I don't really care what you did for the weekend, or where you're going for Christmas, or where you're going on holiday. I don't know.
No, but it's this mad how you've got this understanding now of your way of being in the world, and how even just speaking to you from this time round versus second time round versus first time interview we did, first conversation we did, is it makes me piece things together more in terms of, like at the event when you before you did, which in terms of the masking piece, which is mental. It's like your launch event in Nessa the other week. It's like you come across as super gregarious, super very eloquent, very good communicator.
Thank you.
But what's so interesting is, and I think you said this literally before you went on to me, like before you're like, I don't like these. You told me you're autistic, and you're like, I don't like these events. Yeah. And I wouldn't have noticed any of that.
So that launch event, give you a perspective.
What was hard about that?
That I am still getting over that.
Really?
Right? And that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, it was a deadline, it was a launch, it was, a big thing. But, that was a 4-hour event. Standing on my feet, talking to lots of people, getting attention, wanting people to have a good time, totally anxiety filled, wearing clothes that I hadn't worn all of them before, and just really out of my depths. I couldn't wait to leave, and I was really happy. I really wanted the event to go well and the launch to go well. But I said to my wife before we went, there is only one thing that I'm thinking about right now, and it's the moment we are back in this hotel room, because it will be done and I will be so fucking happy. And I was so fucking happy. And yeah, it's this weird, I've been out in the trade and, we're getting listed, Hand and Flowers, Luca, Rosewood Hotel, these amazing bars, restaurants, hotels. And I can do a tasting, right? Because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Yeah. It's structured and it's work and there's an outcome and there's a reason for doing it. I can't just go and meet up with someone. I don't know how to do that when it doesn't have a reason and a structure and an outcome and an agenda of sorts. I don't know why you do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like a waste of time in the weirdest way. And my brain is built for efficiency and optimization. I heard Chris Packham say this amazing thing. He's autistic. And he said, if you give me like a brush and ask me to sweep a room, then holy shit, I will do it. I will figure out the best way to clean that room with that brush. And that's exactly what I would do. It's like not just sweep the room. It's like, you set me a challenge, I'm going to figure it out. Rather than just execute it, I'm going to figure out the process to do this the best and the most efficiently. And that's incredibly, that's why we brought a design team in-house at Seedlip. That's why we brought a PR team in-house at Seedlip, because they've done the calculations and the analysis and the payback and the return on investment, to make that happen, because it was more efficient with a better return and just an optimal way to do it. So it is really useful. It's why, we have everything's on Slack. We don't have a company WhatsApp group. We don't do internal email. It's all these things are all about efficiency, 5 sentences for an email. They're all these little things that add up to.
Mate, it's mad seeing your other side of going a little bit further upstream with Ben Branson. Do you know what I mean? is probably the best way of saying it. And I think it's just mad seeing the way you work. I think I want to talk about, let's go to your podcast
yes.
now. What one sentence of wisdom would you pass to someone who is listening to this, who is really struggling with something? What would you say to them?
I said this to you before of like, it's just a bundle of energy inside me, and I can either do something with it to make myself feel worse or make myself feel better or help myself or harm myself. And so I would just ask someone to, instead of doing the next thing to hurt yourself, maybe try the next thing to help yourself. And that's just one small action. And that could be anything. Could be having a shower, could be having a cup of tea, could be calling someone, could be reading a book, could be having a sleep, could be just one thing that isn't going to hurt you.
And that leads us nicely to the podcast, because your podcast is going to help lots of people with neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the podcast.
Yeah.
The mission, if you've got that down, and some of the people you've interviewed.
Yeah. So September 2022, diagnosed autistic. My view of autism previous to that was the Rain Man, or images of like weird little boys on buses licking the windows. And I can say that kind of stuff now because I am autistic. So not that I sit on the buses and lick windows, but you know, I can
just at home
have a cheeky poke at it. I had no idea. I'd never heard the word neurodivergence. I'd never heard the word dyscalculia. I'd never heard dyspraxia. I'd never heard these conditions.
What's dyscalculia?
Dyscalculia is a bit like dyslexia, but with numbers. And it's not just, again, dyslexia is not just thick people. Tourette's is not just people who shout bomb inappropriately. ADHD is not just the kid whizzing round who's hyperactive. Autism is not, the Rain Man. Dyspraxia, people not really heard of either, and that's about space and coordination. They're not just clumsy people. I learned so much then about neurodivergence, which, as we categorize it, is autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, and Tourette's. Those conditions are the ones that we're focused on. It's different brains. And I learn, oh my God, there's so many myths. There's so many people misdiagnosed. The waiting lists for diagnosis for some of these conditions are now up to 10 fucking years, which is...
That's fucked.
Just fucked.
Yeah.
There's lots of exclusion going on. There's high correlation with things like suicide, depression, anxiety, divorce, bankruptcy. I think something like only 10 to 15% of autistic people are in full-time employment. And we as a society have got loads of stigma, ignorance, prejudice, and just a whole lack of awareness and understanding really about three things. One, what these conditions actually are. Because they're not those simplistic, you're thick, you're clumsy, you say inappropriate things, you're really good at maths, they're not that simplistic. Number two, there are loads and loads of truths, skills, hope, and brilliance that comes, as well as the challenges, with all of these conditions. So, I'm really fucking good at hearing. And I'm really good at tasting, and I'm really amazing at smelling, and I'm really good at doing spreadsheets, and I'm really good at devising kind of blueprint type sort of global business model plans. And I'm really good at, lots of things, but I struggle with lots of things as well. And then number three, and this is the biggest one for me, without neurodivergence, without people who think differently, we would not have lots and lots of the things that we see every day, hold dear in our hearts, or take absolutely for granted. So the screen that you're probably listening to this or watching this from, whether it was Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, it doesn't really matter. Both of them were neurodivergent. The invention of electricity, the invention of the fucking parachute, E.T., Mickey Mouse, the ugly duckling, the inventor of Pokemon, Spielberg and Jaws and all the kind of stuff that he's contributed to society, Muhammad Ali, Mozart, Marilyn Monroe, Justin Bieber, you fucking know, Simone Biles, like Agatha Christie. I haven't got long enough to list the incredible contributions that neurodivergence made. So rather than join the grassroots kind of charity sector, we wanted to create a charity. And our first act, because we want to kind of, shine a light on 20% of the population that are believed to be neurodivergent. And in a modern way, we wanted to, our first act, be a podcast. So we wanted to sit down with creatives, entrepreneurs, famous people, influencers who are neurodivergent and talk to them about the truth, the skills, the challenges, the hope, you know, from experts to kind of famous actors. And the response has been amazing. We've probably just launched by the time this has come out. But we've had everyone on there from, Dr. Cary Grant with her wonderful red hair to Kit Harrington, Game of Thrones actor, to Adele Tracy, who's like in the Olympics this summer, you know, smashing 800 and 1,500 records left, right and centre. Joe Black, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race, who's just a wonderful, like, dark cabaret, Tourette's legend. Hester Granger, who's like an ADHD expert. We got people like Holly Tucker, founder of Not on the High Street, coming up. We got some other kind of surprises coming up. We're fully booked for series 1. It's called The Hidden 20%. I'm the host, and yeah, we just want to put a bit of a ding, I guess, into sort of the mainstream conscious around, hey, look, people who think differently are kind of incredible and we shouldn't be excluding them. And yeah, it's a good, okay thing. And let's be a bit more informed about it and break down some of the stigma and realize that to businesses and schools and relationships, like, different thinking is exactly what's needed.
What's mental is that list.
It is mental.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't even mean to do that. But the list of all those amazing people, Muhammad Ali, Marilyn Monroe, electricity, the person who creates electricity, Justin Bieber. What is alarmingly scary is the amount of things that came alive or haven't been invented, or talents has been squelched, like my mate's name, because of this fucking stigma around it, because of this blanket. And I was talking about my little cousin earlier, who's got autism.
Yep.
Oh, he's autistic. Sorry, mate. Fucking hell.
That's all right.
Well, that sums it up.
No, but
but that is like
they're horrible words to say. People don't want to say the wrong thing, but it's like, no, it needs to be discussed. And
yeah,
you know, I feel a bit bad sometimes trying to correct people, but how else? I mean, I'll do it.
But my
one by one.
My negligence just shows the cultural conditioning. It's like, oh, you've got autism. Yeah. That's fuck. Let's fucking start with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Break that down. And I think your podcast, and as I said, and I think that's why I appreciate you being so open, is in terms of, I think, your next wave post Seedlip is like you were the driving force with low to no and kind of alcohol free. Like, Seedip was very much the kind of at the frontier of that. I think this podcast and this is going to be so powerful for so many people. Like, for my auntie listening to this, my friend who's got a kid who's autistic, like the narrative is this kind of, you go to a different school.
I hope so.
And
I like. You know, common to Seedlip, to seasn, and to the hidden 20% is I like, you know, disrupting or flipping or challenging or saying, hold on a minute, we season our food like every day. Why aren't we seasoning our drinks? And you can transform your drink with like something that's delicious and concentrated and really, really simple. And why are we not? You know, this phrase gets peddled around, right? You know, great minds don't think alike. And it's like, well, yeah, but great minds think differently, actually, you know?
What are some of the most...
Oh, sorry, let me say that again. I got it so wrong. We have the phrase, great minds think alike. And ironically, as I'm learning, great minds do not think alike. And that is a good thing.
For sure. That's the perfect kind of setting for this next question of great minds, don't think alike, and that's good. What are some of the lessons from interviewing people on your podcast that have been like, wow, like that's I keep saying mental, so, but like, sorry, mate, in terms of that's like insanely interesting that you just didn't expect to learn? Who was that person?
I mean, I'm probably, it's a bit like you, I guess, and having just sort of interviewed you, I'm doing this because I want to learn more.
Sure.
And I'm very curious about, although I don't like socializing in people, I'm very curious about people, right? I like to know how people tick, and, I see someone on the TV, I want to know about them on my phone. And,
mate, I'm
I just want to.
Yeah.
I don't retain any of that information because it's useless information once I've learnt it. But I want to know. I want to understand. And so, having different. For example, it's like, oh my God, I've got a professional athlete, Adele Tracy. She's young and brilliant. And I'm like, what do I want to ask a professional athlete? And yes, I want to talk about dyslexia and dyscalculia because no one's heard about that. Absolutely. But also, I do want to ask, like, what's it like before the race? And when you're on the start line, what are you thinking about? These kinds of things that I'm just like, they've like, when I watch someone racing, that's the kind of question that I have in my brain of like, I wonder what they're what do you think they're thinking about when they're like at the starting
exactly
line?
What I'm like.
So I get to ask them, and because I can be quite blunt, someone's like, oh, and then some difficult things happened. I'm like, oh yeah, what were the difficult things? So, I'm not interrogating people, but we get an opportunity to hear the real side. And really, it all boils down to, yes, there's let people listen to people that they can hopefully relate to, that are not too dissimilar from them, and that might give someone cause to be like, holy shit, that's like me. I wonder why I was struggling with that. Or, wow, I know my friend a bit better because I heard it sounds like them. Or I'm going to go and get a diagnosis, or I want to learn more about that, or that makes me a better boss or a better friend, partner, whatever. And hey, I didn't know that. Thanks, for that information. But there's also something in just like hearing about how people think, right? And getting inside their brain for a bit. And
what did you learn from Kit Harrington?
He takes showers to reset his day.
Cold showers or hot showers, or
just a shower. He has this great belief that he can restart the day at any point. So if everything's getting too much, or he's too overwhelmed, he goes in a shower, he changes his clothes, day starts again. I quite like that. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
Like he knows at any time in the day, he can kind of, he can.
That's a superpower.
Yeah,
he can. Such a fucking superpower.
He can reset it.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool because I think that, we sort of think, oh, well, tomorrow could be better, and it's like he's like, no, fuck that. I can sort that right now.
What are the superpowers that which are neurodivergent superpowers that society would think are kind of a foible or idiosyncrasy have you learned?
So I kind of, the superpower word is fairly loaded in the world of sort of neurodivergence, as I'm learning, in that there are skills that neurodivergent people can have that are maybe a bit better than neurotypical, normal in inverted commas people. And that can be across anything. That can be from maths to engineering to, this painter called Stephen Wiltshire. He can fly over New York, over Manhattan, and then he can commit that flight from memory in incredible detail to a painting.
What the fuck? Have you interviewed this guy?
No, I haven't interviewed him,
Okay.
but he's autistic, right? There are some special gifts that people have got.
Yeah.
But I just, that's where we get into then you kind of get into this sort of Rain Man territory of like.
Rain Man's the film.
Yeah, Rain Man's a film, and it's about a kind
brothers,
of
isn't
a
it?
savant genius.
Yeah.
And there's lots of sort of conversation about, was he autistic, or was he just a sort of savant and a genius, or was that an accurate portrayal of autism? I mean, look, the point is, Thomas the Tank Engine now's got an autistic character. That's a fucking big deal, you know? And so it is, there's Chris Packen's been doing documentaries, Christine McGuinness has done documentaries, Sam Thompson. I'm talking like, media people, like everyday kind of media stars starting to talk about this kind of stuff. And our podcast, we will have guests from incredibly successful entrepreneurs to reality TV stars. I do not care. I just care that we get great guests who want to come and help lend their influence and voice to just sort of changing the narrative a bit on,
it's like,
hey, look, it's not all bad.
Well, it goes back to this. Well, we're going to finally come on to season, but it goes back to this lightness and darkness piece. It's kind of been a central theme today. Is that I think with neurodivergent people, and I put my house on it that I've got some sort of ADHD. Or I haven't been tested or anything, but I'd put the fucking house on it. It's like all these light, beautiful moments of kind of creativity or sparks of genius. Traditionally, pre your podcast and kind of the bigger macro trends have been tarnished with this sort of dark blanket of like, he's got autism, she's got autism. Hi guys, super quick one. So excited. Look, for years I've been badgering on about Hungry the podcast. You're probably bored to death. Thanks for putting up with me. But Hungry is also an agency, and we look after one amazing brand called Islands Chocolate. We've had a great time over the year. We've won listings at a load of wholesalers. We've won Milk and More. We've got our first grocery listing coming very soon, which is very sick. But what I'm thrilled to announce is Hungry is merging with HC Consulting. My boy Harry Clark and his wonderful team, he's an absolute G. They do brand strategy, new business and account management. But why I really love working with Harry and why we've got on so well over the last couple of months is Harry was actually the founder of the boozy isolate brand Pops. So he's been in the trenches, he's grafted his face off, he's had the sleepless nights, he's had the turmoil, he's had the triumph, he knows what it is to be a founder, he is a founder. And he's got a proven track record in grocery and out of home. Holy Moly Dips, The Gut Stuff, Savile Drinks, Remio Gelato. So if you're a brand and you're stuck, you're looking for like new business help, you're looking to scale, drop us a message, we'd love to chat. Thank you so much. Back to the old episode.
This is it's been amazing. I'll be fucking exhausted.
I am exhausted as well, mate. So you
season.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, season salt and pepper drinks. We season our food. I really think the impact of seasoning our drinks is mega, and that's sort of whether it's in cocktails or just changing your tonic or your sparkling water at home, in the week. This kind of weirdy category of cocktail bitters, I'm sure many of you will know or have heard of Angostura.
Yeah. Or seen. You'll know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's 200 years old. It's got 92% share globally. It's got 802 words on the label. I also got 159, by the way, because I'm sado, I count shit like that. But is this, they're amazing at what they've done, but cocktail bitters has kind of stayed the bartender's secret, and we want to put a consumer brand out there that just makes it really simple and easy for people who love their food and appreciate great flavor to to make more delicious drinks, whether they've got booze in them or not.
And you've almost got like the semiotics of literally of salt and pepper.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like one's white and one's dark, and seasoned light, you know, yes, it's got lime and grapefruit and rosemary and kombu, and it's got sea salt in it. You know, it's literally like super green, super zesty, great salinity, and then seasoned dark has got, you know, smoked cherry wood and cola nut and mushroom extract and cocoa and orange, and has got black pepper. So salt and pepper, we know it's drilled into us. It was drilled into me when I went to cooking school. Season. You watch any cooking show, you watch any cooking competition, every single dish, the comment will be
seasoning.
Is the seasoning good? Does it need more seasoning? Does it need less? You've over-seasoned that. It's a bit under-seasoned. And if you ever kind of thought about the impact of salt, you know, why my fucking kids love salt, it's because it makes stuff really moreish and it accentuates flavour, and that's what these liquids do.
We talked about the blueprint for Seedlip at the beginning.
Yep.
The small fires lead to the big fire.
Yep.
This is an old unknown cocktail bar. Obviously, I'm getting tired now. Cocktail fucking maker secret.
Bartender.
There we go. Cocktail maker bar secret. A bartender's secret.
Yes.
Very nascent, but been around for a new while. What is the blueprint your blueprint right now to make this, pour gasoline on this bad boy?
I mean, the thinking is find an audience, an ecosystem of people that care about flavour and taste, understand and know that when they add extra little things, whether it's that sprinkle of something or a dollop of something or a drizzle of something, they know that it makes their food taste more delicious. That understand, you know, that you want to accentuate flavor and make things taste nicer. And if we can establish season in that world of foodies, as we've identified them, foodies, chefs, tastemakers, whatever you want to call it, home cooks, who buy a nice posh oil or have an array of different spices at home, and who know how to kind of follow a recipe, and who really care about how something tastes, not just how it looks, but how it really tastes, and who go out to a restaurant and who go to a food festival or go, you know, to a amazing street food truck, or who know, you know, holy shit, let's go and get that fish or those oysters or that cheese or to that farm shop. Just tap into those people and establish season.
And what does that look like in terms of, is this like, because I can imagine one of the challenges, not on the on-trade, but in retail, is the rate of sale. Because how do you get people to like get into the habit of doing it with every drink? Can you like, have you thought about that challenge, or is it just like an on-trade play for now?
No, it's number one, showing people how easy it is.
Yeah.
Right? To do 3 dashes.
Bang, bang, bang. Yeah.
It's really, really easy. So usage and showing, placement, and it doesn't go in the fridge. You know, at home I have it with, I've got a salt pig, I've got a pepper grinder, olive oil, seasoned light and seasoned dark. It's there, it's accessible. I put seasoned dark in my yummy chicken noodle soup last night.
Ooh,
and it was tasty. And I put seasoned light just in my pesto. So having it accessible.
And also, sorry.
Go on, mate.
I'm just thinking, so I'm getting really excited about that. It's almost, you could almost have it as like I'm just thinking like on say socials or like the comms, it's like this is not just about seasoning your drinks. It's you could almost do like a seasoning your fucking noodles, and this is the way to drive the rate of sale. Is it not just to be a drinks thing? That's so smart.
So there's being ABV agnostic, i.e., you know, we add lots of non-alcoholic ingredients to alcohol, mixers, juices, syrups, like adding this to your alcoholic drink, adding this to your non-alcoholic drink, adding this to your sparkling water that totally transforms it from being plain sparkling water to something where you've actually done something, but something quite simple, something quite easy, no equipment, you just need dash, dash, dash. And then obviously having the great endorsement from, you know, we're in the Hand and Flowers, in Luca, you know, these Michelin star restaurants, these kind of people who really know and spend their life kind of focused on how things taste. Jockey Petrie, he's been an amazing support over the last.
Who's he? Sorry.
So he's ex kind of Heston Blumenthal's right-hand man in the glory days at the Fat Duck, ex Brett Graham's kind of creative right-hand man at the Ledbury, and now been Gordon Ramsay's right-hand man for the last sort of 5 or 6 years.
What's his name, sorry?
Jockey Petrie.
Jockey Petrie.
Yeah. You're thinking like, oh, I want him as a guest.
Well, then that'd be amazing. It would be amazing. But I was sort of thinking, is it Matt Abbey or Abbey?
Don't know that. Him.
He was the guy. I bumped into him with Brett Graham outside I was pretty fucking drunk, which is really embarrassing, outside an awards thing in St Pancras.
Okay.
He's Gordon Ramsay's head chef at Royal Hospital Road.
Okay.
So I was thinking of him.
So he's group,
right,
Jockey.
Okay.
Jockey looks after group. But I saw Jockey, you know, we tasted season and he tasted season light and he's like, holy shit, that just takes me straight back to working at the Fat Duck.
Sick.
You know, he's like, it's delicious and it just takes me straight back to working at the Fat Duck. And I was just like, wow, that's cool. So yeah, I'm really proud of the liquids. They're really foodie. They're really delicious. They're really intense. And they're really concentrated. And, you know, a little goes a long way and see like, oh God, how are you going to sell bottles when it's just, you know, 3 dashes? But that's a frequency thing. That's a usage thing. And that's, you know, there'll be people listening who've got that hot sauce that they put on everything or who put Tabasco on everything. And this is similar of like, I think once you kind of, if you love it, you're going to kind of just go, as I do, I'm going to put that in chicken noodle soup. I'm going to put that in pesto. And before you know it, you've gone through half a bottle because you've had a few drinks and you've used it in a bit of food and you're kind of going through it.
The couple more things I know, because I know you've got to go, is what is the kind of first 6-7 months strategy? We're 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? Is it retail? Is it how do the different channels marry up?
It's omni-channel.
Right.
I kind of, you know, I used to build drinks brands in the on trade, and then you take them to the off trade. I think to me it's less about what's the channel footprint and more about we're focused on foodies. So where are they? Where do they eat? Where do they shop? Where do they read? Where do they consume? What's that ecosystem? And then we will be in the right places to get to them. And so it's also not a kind of scattergun, let's just be everywhere, but it's, okay, from a distribution perspective, well, restaurants, food halls, delis, farmers markets, street food festival, how do we access that kind of foodie ecosystem? Yes, the best cocktail bars, yes, the best hotels, yes, some D2C. So yeah, because our distribution target in the first year is not thousands, in simplistic terms, it's, well, what are those 500 amazing accounts we need to be in? I don't care whether they're on trade, off trade, D2C. Doesn't matter.
Yes. It's like,
So
where's the cute? I think most people look at it this way. Again, this is like, look at it this way. So, okay, which channel where it leads to our consumer? Let's make a channel strategy. What you're saying, looking at the complete other way around, where's our consumer? And then it doesn't matter what channel. Whether that's, if they're a foodie and they hang out in a farm shop in Devon versus the Rosewood Hotel, we're going to go for it. And I think that's really, again, another way of going, diverging from the traditional path. I know you've got to run.
I do.
Mate, that was, like, this is my last one I'm going to do this year.
Okay.
And I think it's been a beautiful morning, and I've really appreciated it. I've appreciated you being so honest, appreciated you interviewing me. I think kind of we talked about the bittersweet. I think we've discussed all of those things, and I think I'm really excited for what you're going to do. And I think, we need a breather, but in a year's time or 8 months' time, I'd love to just have you on again, because I could talk all things all day to you, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, likewise. And happy to come back, mate. There's loads more to discuss.
We haven't even scratched the surface. Awesome. Right, I'm going to hit pause.
Okay.